Hi there. I was going through my collection, looking at decks, and just trying to sort through things. And I actually have all of my black and white decks separated, or at least most of them, and they're in separate baskets. So I thought I would just go ahead and do a little video about my black and white decks. And so I will start with the Star String Tarot, which is just straight black and white. I don't think there's any other colors in this, if I remember right. And I really liked this deck. And so it's an animal deck, and there's no humans. And I just thought, it's kind of fun to use. I like the dark backgrounds in it. It does have some white in the background too, but it's unique. I guess that's not really a human, but, or it could be, who knows. So there are a few cards where it just has maybe some depictions of things, but it's mostly animals in this deck. And, you know, objects and things. And I just think it's a really pretty deck. And I enjoy using it. So I thought I would show it to you. And I did try and put it back in order before I showed it, so that you could get a sense of what it looked like by number. And I like the vibrancy of the cards. There's a lot of just really stark black and very white. So it's just easy to make out the lines in this deck. I don't remember where I found this or saw it. Somebody had it. Maybe it was on Facebook, I think. And I saw it and just thought it was super cool and ordered it. And that was probably 6 months ago. So it's been a while. But I've played with this one a fair amount. All right, that is the Star String Tarot by Eliza Kingsbury. Oh, and it has a little guidebook too, but I don't really use the guidebook. I think this was a US deck. I think it came in 3 to 5 days. All right, this is Cosmic Visions Tarot. I've had this deck for a number of years. It was a Kickstarter. I bet I've only had it maybe since 2020, maybe something like that. But I like this deck. Those are the backs. It's got some color on the inside. This deck is black and white, but it has pops of color, which is kind of fun. And I've used this deck off and on since I got it. I enjoy it. And it's the only deck I have that has this kind of rainbow color in the middle of the black and white. And it's neat because it gives you something to focus on. You really notice where the color is in this deck. Just think it's gorgeous. And then, like, that's a super bright card. Most of them are colors a little more subtle. And I like the rainbow with the elephants. But really, really beautiful. And the cardstock is great, and I've shuffled it a ton, and it's held up great. It's got kind of that rose petal-y finish on it. And I'm sure that you guys have seen this because it's been out for a long time, and I think it was very, very popular when it came out. I don't see it as much anymore, but I see it. People still use it. I still use it. It's sort of one of those that, yep, it'll stay in my collection and I'll keep using it. I like that card. Seven of Pentacles. It's a pretty depiction there. I love her hair in that. Their hair. That one's cool. And this looks really great with other black and white decks, or with decks that are more rainbow colored, or decks that are just like kind of one rainbow color. It really mixes well with things. All right, that is the Cosmic Visions Tarot. Comes in that box. Oh, looks like I got a couple cards left from the other deck. Whoops. Sometimes I'll have cards out and they get in the wrong box and then I can't find them for months. Okay, good thing I caught that. Oh, and I left that one. Hi, I'm back with my black and white decks, and I was just going to show you some decks that are part of my black and white collection. And I'm going to show you the Wild Unknown. It does have a little bit of color. This was the indie version of the deck. It's mostly black and white, and some of these decks have spots of color like this one does. But I do think it is beautiful. These are the backs. This is the inside of it. Comes with a little guidebook like this, or it's just like a paper really. And then it's mass market now, so there's a version. I have the little version. There's a little version and there's a regular version, and it has a nice big guidebook with it now instead of the insert. And this is by Kim Krans. And all of Kim Krans' decks are black and white with pops of color like this. And maybe I'll just show you all of them, but I'll show you this one first. But beautiful. I love the backs on these. I think the mass market backs are slightly different, but still really pretty. I have seen people do colorations of this where they color all the cards. And I saw one, I can't remember what channel it was on, but it was really cool. It was really beautiful. So I've seen people do cool things with this deck. And this deck was such a game changer at the time. And not everybody liked it, but a lot of people loved it. And I think it really got a lot of people into tarot at that time. I think it was around maybe 2012. And it was really just a resurgence of tarot at that time, where just a lot of people got back into tarot or got into it for the first time. You know, tarot got really big in the 90s, but nothing like it is today. But the 80s, we always kept it secret. You didn't want people to know you were doing it. And, you know, in the 80s, I would read at festivals doing those cattle call style readings. And that was really fun. I liked doing that. I only had a few decks I would read with. I love this star card. Anyway, you've probably seen this before, but this is a beautiful black and white deck that's got a lot of pops of color in it. And the cardstock is lovely, I think both in the mass market and the indie version. I've even heard some people like the mass market cardstock better. There's also a little teeny one of this. Next deck I'm going to show you is Daughters of the Moon Tarot. This is the black and white version. There's also a color version, which I think I've showed on my channel before. These are the backs. The backs are the same whether you have the black and white version or the color version. But this is cool. Mine is gotten old and is yellowed a little, but still really cool. And they put this out. It's like on an art paper, thinking people would color it, and definitely some people did. But this one is not colored. It's just black and white. I really enjoy using this. There's cards that like have a little tape on them or something, but this is definitely not a perfect deck, but nonetheless a really fun deck, and it's black and white and part of my black and white collection. And I love Daughters of the Moon. It's just been a part of my tarot decks for years and years. And I still totally love it to this day. It is a very feminine-based deck. But just like part of tarot history, right? Really, really cool. Oh yeah, there's always nudity in my decks too, by the way. Forgot to say that at the beginning. Or maybe I did. I can't remember. But anyway, there's a lot of nudity. Anyway, there's... I don't see these around much anymore. You see the colored version quite a bit. I don't see the black and white version. It came in this box originally. So that is Daughters of the Moon. Next deck I'm going to show you is the Spirit Keepers Tarot by Annabelle Wynn. This is a Moonlit Fae bag made for this deck. And this is just a gorgeous deck. It's Annabelle's first deck. And it is magical and really beautiful. I love every single version of the decks. Yeah, I should probably be flipping it over, but these are the backs. But the black and white one is cool. And I use black and white decks a little differently than I use decks with color. But this is definitely a favorite of mine. And I'm trying to do like just little bits of tarot collections. And so I already had my black and white decks separated, so it was kind of easy to grab. And I do have a lot of them, and I probably won't get through them all in one video, but I'll probably have several videos to go through them all. But I'm trying to just kind of pay attention to all the decks I have. I've been collecting tarot decks now since the 80s, and I didn't have, the first 2 years I had maybe 10 or 12 decks at the most. But the last 15 years, there's been so many decks come out that just now I have a lot of decks. I don't even know how many. But I kind of just want to go through all of my collections, see what I want to keep, see what I want to get rid of. And so I thought it would be great to go through the black and white version. Anyway, this is the Spirit Keepers Tarot. This is the first edition. It is black and white. That's the backs of it, and it is just an absolute beautiful deck. There was 1,000 of these printed, and I think it's probably out of print for good. Next deck I'm going to show you is Tarot of the Abyss by Tourian. Another absolutely stunning deck. This deck has Anna's work, so it's just gorgeous. Weird, I thought I put these back in order, but I must have looked at it since. Anyway, this deck is cool because it has, and the Three of Cups isn't there. I must have used it for something. It has some different meanings. Some different cards that have different depictions. So you can kind of choose. And I think both the Ten of Swords and the Three of Swords have 2 cards each. And I don't remember if that's it. But I have a couple copies of this deck because this was a deck that I would sometimes give to people when they're starting out. But it turned out then it might have just been a little, there's one of the depictions of the Ten of Swords, and here's another. So you have more the numerology type meaning here and more the traditional Thoth or RWS meaning here. But very beautiful. And, you know, if you like her artwork, you're going to probably like. So, both Three of Swords. So this one, more traditional meaning, and this one is the sword suited the mind depiction. So, kind of cool. You know, the Bonestone, Evelyn Cameron's deck is, Anna did the art in that deck, and wow, is that a stunning deck. It is going to be a mass market deck soon. I don't know who the publisher is, but it is in the process of becoming a mass market deck. What a great hermit. I always enjoy different depictions of cards. And look at that strength card. Wow. This is just a stunning deck. The Wise one. Emperor's beautiful. Empress. Look at that Empress. High Priestess. The Fool. Look at the Magician. Just beautiful. Chariot. Oh, here's the Three of Cups. Sometimes I think I'll put something back in order because I'm going to do a video, and then I'll use the deck for something and then forget that I took things out of order. But anyway, there you have it. That's a U.S. Games deck. It is Tarot of the Abyss by Anna Tourian. Gorgeous deck. All right, next I'll show you the Moon Void Tarot. I think this is the first edition. The second edition is similar to the first edition, and then there's a third edition that has some pink on it, and it has some different cards. But this is black and white with some pops of red, and maybe in a very, very sparing amount of decks, a color other than red. But this is, I love this deck. It's beautiful. I used to use it a lot. And, you know, weirdly, I would use it when the moon was void. And I would come out and do my readings. I should get back in that habit. I just always had it out because I would use that as my moon void deck. You know, I think that's what it was kind of meant to be. And it's just one character throughout the deck. So here's one of the cards that has some blue in it. So this follows one character in a story throughout the tarot. Kind of, you know, the Tarot of Haunted House does that too. There's more, you know, there's other decks that do that too, but anyway, just a really gorgeous deck and really fun. I don't know which version is available right now. Just not, because I have so many old decks, I don't always pay attention to what is in print. Although I will say that many decks that go out of print come back into print, so Just have some patience if you really want something. Because I've seen a lot of things I never thought would come back into print, come back into print. And I think it's because publishers are really willing to publish a deck that was popular in a mass market format nowadays, which we didn't used to see. All right, well, that is the Moon Void Tarot. And that is by Stephanie Capone, I think. Yep, Stephanie Capone. And I think the character is supposed to be her in that deck. Okay. Next deck is the Black Violet Tarot. This is a beautiful deck too. This is the original version that has the borders. There's also a pink version of it, which is gorgeous. And there's a newer version on different cardstock. This cardstock's very thin, but it's great. I've used it for a really long time, a ton, and it's held up really well. Anyway, so the newer one is pretty much the same, but just borderless. And it went back to black and white because I think so many people wanted the black and white version. I think it was very popular. And you can see why. It's gorgeous. And it's pretty traditional, but it's very fun. And, you know, I'm not a big fan of the classic RWS. And sometimes I don't enjoy too many decks that are just exactly similar. But this isn't. This has its own view of things. And like, look at that Judgment. It's just beautiful, gorgeous. The world is different. So it's lovely. I think it's a really beautiful deck. I think that this is still for sale. And I'm not 100% sure, but I saw somebody post on Facebook this week that they had just ordered a deck or something. And I backed all of her Kickstarters, so that's how I ended up getting them. But then they would go for sale on her website, I think, after whatever was left over from the Kickstarter. Huh, this is cool. Seven of Cups. 8 of Cups. I like leaving in the boat, even though it is similar idea to 6 of Swords, but I like the depiction. Anyway, pretty beautiful. And I'll show you there's the 3 of Swords, 5 of Swords, and there it's just like showing somebody the sword and they're walking away. And there's the 6 of Swords. All right, well, this is Black Violet Tarot by Heidi Phelps, I think. It is a beautiful deck and a fun black and white one that pairs with tons of things. Okay, next I think I'll show you the Goliath Tarot. This is the original first edition, so it's really big. And well, you see how big it is. And it does have a little bit glossier cardstock. I think there's a second edition, and I think it has smaller, I don't have that. It has smaller cards and is not maybe as glossy, but the gloss on this is beautiful and it helps things stand out. So I have no issue with it. In fact, I would just keep this one because I really like this deck. And I like my original version, and I like that it's big. I think around Thanksgiving, he often does a sale on this, and it's the second edition again, but I think most years I've seen him do, maybe it's a fairly good discount on this. And I don't know, maybe he won't this year, but in the past he's put this on sale. I like that we have yes and no cards. And I love this Sacred Fire card. It's gorgeous. But anyway, just keep your eye out, because the second edition is still in stock. Or last time I checked, it was. Oh, yeah, and there's extra cards, obviously. Anyway, it's a pretty powerful deck with pretty strong symbolism. I know a lot of people use it for shadow work. I don't ever try and do shadow work on purpose. Like some decks are just going to bring things out. But, isn't that gorgeous? I love this card. And that, you know, just really beautiful. Anyway, I was pairing this with some of my Norse decks, and man, was it beautiful with my Norse decks. Just had that vibe, you know. So that is the Goliath. Isn't that beautiful? Anyway, clearly I think this is a beautiful deck. I really love it. And it is large and glossy, and on this deck I love that about it. Wouldn't have it any other way. And it is in a big box. So there it is. All right, next I'll show you. I'll show you a couple different ones. I'll show you the Dark Days and Theos Tarot. I'll show you the Theos Tarot first. This is an old deck. It has been reprinted. So the reprint is similar. I think the backs might be different. I'm not even sure if the backs are different. And you've probably heard about this deck and seen it around if you've been in tarot for a while. But it's also just like an important piece of tarot history. And just super cool. Great deck. There was a lot of hype around this deck when it came out. Anyway, it's finally available again, which is kind of cool. So, I don't know how long it'll be available, but it's available now. Somebody asked me and I looked it up. All right. That is Theos Tarot. Comes with just a little sheet for its guidebook. And this is the original version in the original box. Next, I'll show you Dark Days. I've had this deck for a very long time. It's by the same person as the Mother Tarot. I've had that since it came out. This cardstock is different. The Mother Tarot, if you have that, the cardstock, I think, maybe it's like half as big, maybe less than half as big. And it's got, I think it's linen. It's great cardstock, and it's weird because it's so thin that it feels kind of flimsy, but it holds up so well. It's just gorgeous. And then there's a second edition of the Mother Tarot. I think you can get either. There's a second edition that is more like this cardstock, and it's gold. The board, it's got gold gilding, I'm sorry. Anyway, getting back to this. This is a gorgeous deck. The artwork is stunning. What is going on here? Everything's flipped around. Yep. I didn't know how many of the cards are. All of them apparently are flipped around. So, and I don't normally like go crazy over square decks, but in this deck I always loved it. I don't know what it is, but from the day I got this one. I think because for me the artwork is so beautiful that I just fell in love with it. And for some reason, I like it in the black and white. And I like the Mother Tarot too, but there's something about this deck being in black and white that is, just makes the art pop. Anyway, really, really like it. Oh yeah, and obviously, if you didn't notice already, the majors are in white with a white background, and then the minor arcana have a black background. So that's the Empress. Cool Empress card. So that is the Dark Days Tarot. And I think this is by Ren Brunock or something like that. Let me look. Dark Days. Ren McCurdo Brignock. Okay. So this is available still along with the other one of her square decks, which is the Mother Tarot. I'll show you that sometime, but it's amazing. Like, the cardstock, I think, is like down to here. It's like so thin on the other deck. It's crazy. And it's a great cardstock. All right, Dark Days Tarot. Next, I will show you the Vitriolic Tarot. This is the second edition of this deck. It's by the Dark Exact, Coleman Stevenson. So this is a majors only deck, and people use this deck different ways. And it is black and white, but it's got pops of color. But to me, it's a black and white deck because that's its main vibe. Beautiful deck. And then it's got the sigils in it, and it corresponds to another deck. With those symbols up there. Just going to show you all of these because there's not that many cards. And Mercury, Salt, and Sulfur are all black and white. All right, that is the Vitriolic Tarot by Coleman Stevenson, Dark Exact. Pretty cool deck. All right. Next, I'll show you the Wandering Moon Tarot. And I have a couple different versions of this deck. There's a one that's a white box with cards that have a black background. And there's a version with a black box. And that one has white cards with black on it. So I have both. These are going to go out of print. So if you like this deck, you might think about getting it pretty soon because... the creator was pretty unhappy that so many people were producing knockoffs of her deck, and she expects to see that on eBay, but I think when they showed up on Amazon, she was really, really disappointed. And so I think she's decided she's moving on to other projects, but I love this deck, and it goes with so many things, and it's got embossed silver on it. I don't know if you can tell from the camera, but it's just beautiful. I've always enjoyed, I have the Oracle, both tarots, the Oracle, and then there's a Major Arcana additional add-on that you can switch out with the original Major Arcana. So I do it both ways. The wands are crystals, obviously. Cups are moons. And it has hands, but no people. Hell no, that's not true, because it does have figures in it. I think mainly the court cards. Yep, 10 of stars. The stars are pentacles or coins, or so gorgeous deck. And this version, the backs are white. And in the other version, the backs are black. So it's fun. I enjoy having both versions. Sometimes I like working with the black deck, and sometimes I like working with the white one. Okay, lastly, I am going to show you a little mini deck. It's called the Wanderlight Tarot. And this will just be the end of my part one. I have put this back in order. My box is not holding up well, but you know, oh well. I do have a backup of this one. So this is just such a cute little black and white deck. And here's the backs to it. So it's just so adorable, I think. And it's fun to just have some little teeny decks that you can get out and do a big reading. So this is just plain old black and white, no color at all. Fun. And then when I do part two, maybe I will do some pairings along. I don't want to make these videos crazy long, but so I'm trying to keep them for sure under an hour if I can, and so I'm trying not to overwhelm everyone. But they're probably definitely going to be more than 30 minutes. But I'll try and keep them under that hour mark for sure. Okay, so I'm going to just show you some different suits. Oh, and this deck has a big sister-brother deck that I'll show you a little later in a different part of my black and white tarot decks. That you get a sense. I think this one you can still get. but I don't know that 100% for sure. This is so pretty. Some of them are just so pretty. They're like the Tree of Life. And then they have the planets and then the elements too. So very cool deck, very fun to use, and it's fun to have just a little black and white deck that you can use for different things. So thanks for watching. See ya.